Hare Krishna. Asa Shri Guru Charane Rate Aise Utama Gati Utama Gati Je Prasade Pure Sarva Asha Asha Chakudana Diloji Jami Jami Prabhu Si Diloji Jami Jami Prabhu Si Chakudana Diloji Jami Jami Prabhu Si Diloji Jami Jami Deviga Nirito Prasito Nirito Prasito Prima Bhakti Jahati Abhina Vinasa Jati Jahati Abhina Vinasa Vedega Jahara Charito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Najara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Najara Bandhu Lokena Lokera Jivana Aha Prabhu Kuru Doya Diho More Parachaya Aha Prabhu Kuru Doya Diho More Parachaya Ivigasha Gushukti Bhuvana Ivigara Gushuti Bhuvana Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Radhama Najara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Radhama Najara Bandhu Lokena Lokera Divana Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Gurudev Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Vibhuti Founder Acharya His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajacharya Shtutara Sada Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Thakur Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kunige Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Purushottam Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Jamuna Maya Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Srimati Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shri Godharma Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Shri Prabhupada's Transcendental Books Distribution Ki Jai. Bhrat Mridang Ki Jai. Shri Shaparma Karantai Gaur Chandra Ki Jai. Samveda Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Purimanandi. All glories to the assembly of devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembly of devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembly of devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachadini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashachari Shatare. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only ways by which you can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet of great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scripture sings of his character. Our spiritual master is a ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and Lord and Master of the devotees. O Master, please be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter at your lotus feet. You are the Savior of the most fallen. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimati Brinda Devi Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Brindaya Tulsi Devyaya Priyaya Kesava Sucha Vishnu Bhakti Paridevi Sachavataya Namo Namah. Vrindaya Tulsi Devyaya Priyaya Kesava Sucha Vishnu Bhakti Paridevi Sachavataya Namo Namah. Vrindaya Tulsi Devyaya Priyaya Kesava Sucha Vishnu Bhakti Paridevi Sachavataya Namo Namah. Srimati Brinda Devi Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyase Namo Namaha Radha Krishna Seva Pava E Abhilase Je Tomara Sharanaloy Kripa kore kora tare Vrindavana vasi Skanjariyawa Nayane Ribasara Jugala Ruparasi Enivedhanadaro Sakiranugata Koro Sevare Karare Koro Nijarase Dina Krishna Rasikoye Dina Murahoy Shri Radha Govinda Premisara Dina Vasi Shri Radha Govinda Premisara Dina Vasi Yanikani cha papani brahmacharikani cha Danitani pranashante parikshana pare pare Yanikani cha papani brahmacharikani cha Danitani pranashante parikshana pare pare Yanikani cha papani brahmacharikani cha Danitani pranashante parikshana pare pare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Jaya Vrindadevi, Jaya Vrindadevi, Jaya Vrindadevi, Jaya Vrindadevi, 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 Jaya Vrindadevi. Shrimati Vrindadevi Tulsidev Maharani ki jai. Vrindaya Tulsidevyaya Priyaya Kesavascha Vishnu Bhakti Padadevi Sachavataya Namo Namaha. Vrindaya Tulsidevyaya Priyaya Kesavascha Vishnu Bhakti Padadevi Sachavataya Namo Namaha. Vrindaya Tulsidevyaya Priyaya Kesavascha Vishnu Bhakti Padadevi Sachavataya Namo Namaha. Shrimati Vrindadevi Tulsidev Maharani ki. O Tulsi, beloved of Krishna, I warang before you again and again. My desire is to obtain the service of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you has his wishes fulfilled. Best in your mercy upon him, you make him a resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you will also grant me residence in the Persia groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus that in my vision, I'll always behold the beautiful pastime of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of the cohort damsels of Braj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen lowly servant of Krishna praise may always swim in the love of Shri Shri Radha and Govinda. Shrimati Tulsidev Maharani ki jai.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine
Namo Vishnu Padhaya Krishna Pristhaya
Bhutale
Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti
Namaste सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादिशतारिणे
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी
गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे
निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram
Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna. So as we welcome you here this morning, we'll be continuing with one bhajan. So this is Viva Vari Shesha. It's a beautiful bhajan describing the different pastimes and incarnations of Lord Krishna. So we'll read the translation and then we'll chant the bhajan. So it says, the night has come to an end and a light of dawn is entering. O Jiva soul, arise and give up your sleep. Chant the holy names of Lord Hari, who is the giver of liberation, the enemy of the Mura demon, the supreme enjoyer, the all-attractive one, and the horse-headed incarnation, Hayagriva. Lord Hari, or Krishna, incarnated as the half-man, half-lion Nrsimha. He appeared as a dwarf Brahmana named Upendra and is a killer of the Madhu demon. He is the beloved son of the king of Braja, Nanda Maharaj, and is blackish in complexion. He is the slayer of the Putana witch and the destroyer of the demon Kaitaba. All glories to Lord Hari, who appeared as Lord Rama, the son of King Dasarath. He is the darling of Mother Yashoda, the giver of pleasure to the cows, land, and spiritual senses, and the protector of the cows. He is the Lord of the Vrindavan forest, the gopis' beloved, the lover of Radhika, and the most beautiful personality in all the worlds. As Ramachandra, he brought about the end of the demoniac king Ravana. As Krishna, he stole the older gopis' butter. He stole the younger gopis' clothes while they were bathing in Yamuna. He is a cowherd boy of Braj and a protector of the cowherd boys. He steals the hearts of all and always holds a flute. Lord Krishna is worshipped by the best of yogis, and he is the son of Nanda. He removes all the fears of the inhabitants of Braja. So this is very significant that throughout the world at this time, at least, of recent and, within the last 2 years also, a lot of fear has been there in everyone's mind because of so many things happening, natural disasters, diseases, wars. So here we are hearing that Lord Krishna, he being the son of Nanda, he removes all the fears in the inhabitants of Braj. So in the Govardhan Leela, I know when Indradev sent the Samvartaka clouds and heavy showers of rainfall throughout Braj, the inhabitants, the people, the Brajabasis, the cows, were all seeking protection. He protected everyone by lifting hill of Govardhan. He is the color of a fresh rain cloud, and his form is enchanting. When he wanders about playing his flute, he looks very charming. He is the son of Yashoda and the killer of King Kamsa, and he sports in a rasa dance among the groves of Braj. Krishna engages in this rasa dance underneath the Kadamba trees, and he resides in the forests of Vrindavan. He increases the ecstasy of his devotees. He is the reservoir of all love and is the transcendental Cupid who uses his flowered arrows to increase the love and desires of the gopis. He is the pleasure of the gopis' hearts and the abode of all wonderful qualities. Lord Krishna is the life of the river Yamuna. He is always absorbed in amorous pastimes, and he is the moon of the gopis' minds, which are like the chakura boards that subsist only upon moonlight. O mind, obey these words of mine and sing the glories of Sri Krishna in the form of these holy names, which are full of nectarian mellows. Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai. So I think we'll have the button on screen so everyone can follow the lyrics with us as we chant. Vivavare Shesha Aloka Pravisha Nidra Chare Oto Jiva
Sheshaloka Pravisha Nidra Chare Oto Jiva
Vivavare Shesha Aloka Pravisha Nidra Chare Oto Jiva
Vivavare Sheshaloka Pravisha Nidra Chare Oto Jiva
Bola Hare Hare Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva
Bolo Hare Hare Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva
बोला हरे हरे मुकुंद मुरारे राम कृष्ण हयग्रीवा
बोलो हरे हरे मुकुंद मुरारे राम कृष्ण हयग्रीवा
नरसिंह वामन श्री मधुसूदन ब्रजेन्द्रानंदन श्याम
नृसिंह वामन श्री मधुसूदन ब्रजेन्द्रानंदन श्याम
पूतन गातन कैतवशातन जय दशरथे राम
पूतना घातना कैतवशातना जय दशरथे राम
यशोददूलाला गोविन्द गोपाल वृन्दावन पुरन्दर
यशोदा दुलाला गोविन्द गोपाल वृन्दावन पुरन्दर
गोपी प्रिया जन राधिका रामन गोवन सुन्दर
गोपी प्रिया जन राधिका रामन भुवन सुन्दर बारा
रावणन्तकर माकनतास्कर गोपी जन
रावणन्तकर माखन तस्कर गोपी जना वस्त्रहारे
ब्रजेरलाकल गोपवृन्दाफल सीताहरे भंशेदारे
ब्रजेराखला गोपवृन्दाफल चित्त हरे वंशीधारे
विवावरेशेषालोक प्रवेश निद्राचरे जीवा
विभावरे शेषालोक प्रवेश निद्राचारे जीवा
योगीन्द्रभन्दन श्रीनन्दनन्दन ब्रजजनवय रे
योगेन्द्र वन्दन श्रीनन्दनन्दन ब्रज जना भय हरे
नवीन निरार रूप मनोहर मोहन वंशिवे
नवीन निरादा रूप मनोहर मोहन वंशी विहारे
यशोरनन्दन कंसनिशूरन निकुञ्जरासविलास
यशोदानन्दन कंस निषूदन निकुञ्जरासविलासी
कारम्मकानन रसपरायण वृन्दाविपिननिवासे
कादम्बा कानन रासपरायण वृन्दा विपिन निवासी Jacakama
Gopangana Gana Chita Vinodana Samasta Guna Gana Dama
Gopangana Gana Chita Vinodana Samasta Guna Gana Dama
Yamuna Jivana Keli Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora
Yamuna Jivana Keli Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora
Nama Shudharasa Gau Krishna Jasha Rako Vachana Manamora
O Nama Shridhara Sagao Krishna Jasha Rakho Bachana Manamora
Deva Vravisha Alukha Pravisha Nidra Chare Ota Jiva
Vibhavari Sheshaloka Pravisha Nidra Chari Uttajiva
Vivavari Checha Aloka Pravesha Nidra Chare Ota Deva
Vibhavari Shesha Aloka Pravesha Nidra Chari Uttajiva
Bolo Hare Hare Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Yagriva
Bola Hare Hare Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva
Bolo Hare Hare Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Yagriva
Bola Hare Hare Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva
Jaya Krishna Ballaram Jaya Krishna Ballaram Krishna Ballaram Jaya Krishna Ballaram
Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram
Jaya Rare Shama Sundara Re Shama Sundara Re Jaya Vrindavana Ram Vrindavana Ram Vrindavana Ram Jaya Vrindavana Ram
Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram
Jaya Paramakaruna Jaya Nitai Gaurachandra Jaya Paramakaruna Jaya Nitai Gaurachandra
Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaurachandra Parama Karuna Nitai Gaurachandra
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada
Prabhupada Jaya
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari
Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Giri
Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana
Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana
Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana
Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana
Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari
Jaya 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 Radha Madhava 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 Jaya Kunja Vihari
Oh Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari
Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivarari Jaya Girivarari
Oh Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana
Jaya Yashodanandana
Jaya
Jaya Braja Janaranjana
Oh Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari
Jaya 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 Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava Shri Radhe.
Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava Shri Radhe.
Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava Shri Radhe.
Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava Shri Radhe.
Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra, Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra.
Jaya Paramakkaruna Jaya Nitai Gaurachandra Jaya Paramakkaruna Jaya Nitai.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada.
Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol.
Jai Gaur Hare Bol, Hare Bol,
Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ashta Sakhi ki jai, Shri Shri Parama Karunitai Gaur Chandra ki.
Hare Krishna. So we want to take this opportunity once again on behalf of the devotees and members of Hare Krishna Study Center to welcome each and every one of you who are joining in, who are here physically, and also for those of you who are attending virtually. We thank you all for being here for another special Sunday Love Feast, Srila Prabhupada's Sunday Love Feast, as it is famously called all over the world. So, when Srila Prabhupada started up this movement, created ISKCON, this was something that he gave us, that every Sunday, we have Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. You know, on weekends, everyone is thinking Saturday and Sundays, not a work day for many people. They're thinking, where can I go? I want to relax. I want to, get all the work, stress, and pressures off my head, over the weekend. So Srila Prabhupada has given us this Sunday Feast program where we can congregate and we can be together. We can be absorbed in kirtan, in chanting, in hearing, in taking prasad together. Basically, recreation. You just examine what we are doing for our Sunday feast, basically. It's recreation, right? It's, it's singing, dancing, eating, all the things that, people recreational activities. But it's not just recreation, it's all spiritual. Whatever we are doing here, we're getting spiritual benefits. We are giving up all the pressures and anxieties within our minds, absorbing ourselves in kirtan, being together, chanting, hearing, dancing. These are all, everyone is looking for these things to entertain themselves. So we are very fortunate that, it's to be here and to be under Prabhupada's umbrella, his shelter in the form of his temples, where we can take advantage of these activities, where we become spiritually enlightened, and we recharge ourselves to go out back to perform our duties throughout the rest of the week. So this morning we're going to continue. We want to as we welcome you here, we especially want to welcome our dear only His Grace Haridas Prabhu, who has just arrived. He has been quite some months. We have missed his association, and he's back here once again for some more time. So Haridas Prabhu, welcome. Haribol! So we'll be continuing to hear a little this morning from His Grace Hari Kirtan Prabhu. Prabhuji will be speaking on there are different steps. And on this process of devotional service, it's described as a ladder or a step. A stair has many different steps. So devotional service has 9 key steps in order to reach perfection, in order to perfect this process. So he'll be speaking of one of the very beginning steps, and it's called Sadhu Sangha, or the Association of Devotees. So as we welcome him, let us all chant in our usual way 3 times. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. So over to Hari Kirtan.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So I'd like to welcome everyone for Sunday Love Feast, and we hope that we're encouraging everyone to please tell your friends. It doesn't have to be a devotee, your work friends, any friend, about the temple and the Sunday program, and you can encourage them to give us a visit on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Because as we know, the country has recently been opened, so there are no restrictions for us coming to the temple. So we can encourage as many people as possible to come with us to the temple. You can imagine how nice it would be to have a full temple room once again for Sunday programs. So we encourage everyone to please bring along someone. So before we begin today's discussion, we'd like to recite Mangalacharna. Please join together. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya eva cha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. 2 more times loudly. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna, before I begin, after seeking the blessings of our Guru Parampara, I'd like to seek the blessings of all assembled Vaishnavas, senior Vaishnavas like His Grace Haridas Prabhu, and other devotees assembled here, to please bless me so that I may be able to speak something of value. in glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His devotees, and this process of devotional service. So our topic today is Sadhu Sangha, broadly. There is one verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam on which our discussion will be based on today. And we'll try to follow the regular Bhagavatam class format. So we'll go through the verse, the word for word, and we'll all repeat the translation. And after going through the verse, whoever wish to try, to attempt to recite the verse, may also try to do so. So usually Srila Prabhupada, when he first started Bhagavatam classes in ISKCON, he asked all the devotees to try to at least recite the verses of Bhagavatam. Why? Because these verses are as good as the Maha Mantra, because they glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And reciting them has immense benefit. So it doesn't matter if we have wrong pronunciation, but we can attempt, if you like. The verse, please. Make it a bit bigger. So. Wrong verse. Wrong verse. Scroll down to text 30. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. So you can repeat after me, please. Paraspara Anukathanam Pavanam Bhagavadyasha Mithorathir Mithastushtir Nivritir Mitha Atmana Paraspara Anukathanam Pavanam Bhagavadyasha Mithoratir Mitastushtir Nivritir Mitha Atmana Paraspara Anukathanam Pavanam Bhagavadyasha Mithoratir Mitastushtir Nivritir Mitha Atmana Parasparanukathanam Pavanam Bhagavadyasha Mithoratir Mithastushtir Nivritir Mitha Atmana Parasparanukathanam Pavanam Bhagavadyasha Mithoratir Mithastushtir Nivritir Mitha Atmana. So, anyone like to try to recite the verse? Parasparanukathanam Pavanam Bhagavadyasha Mithoratir Mithastushtir Nivritir Mitha Atmana Parasparanukathanam Pavanam Bhagavadyasha Mithoratir Mithastushtir Nivritir Mitha Atmana. Anyone else wishes to try? Okay. So we'll go to the word for word. Scroll down a bit. Scroll down a bit. Oh, sorry. So you can repeat after me. Paraspara, mutual. Anukatanam, discussion. Pavanam, purifying. Bhagavat, of the Supreme Lord. Yasha, glories. Mitaha, mutual. Ratihi, loving attraction. Mitaha, mutual. Tushtir, satisfaction. Nivriti, cessation of material miseries. Mitaha, mutual. Atmanaha, the soul, of the soul, sorry. So there's something really amazing here. There are several repeated words. There's a specific word that has been repeated 4 times. Anyone can figure out what that word is? Mutual, yes. So keep that word in mind. It's going to be very important for the discussion today. So the translation is as follows. One should learn how to associate with the devotees of the Lord by gathering with them to chant the glories of the Lord. This process is most purifying. As devotees thus develop their loving friendship, they feel mutual happiness and satisfaction. And by thus encouraging one another, they are able to give up material sense gratification, which is the cause of all suffering. So we can repeat parts after one another. One should learn how to associate with the devotees of the Lord by gathering with them to chant the glories of the Lord. This process is most purifying. As devotees thus develop their loving friendship, they feel mutual happiness and satisfaction. And by thus encouraging one another, they are able to give up material sense gratification, which is the cause of all suffering. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, those who are advanced in Krishna consciousness should not envy one another or quarrel among themselves. Giving up all such mundane feelings, they should gather together and chant the glories of the Supreme Lord for mutual purification. For mutual purification. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has pointed out that glorification of the Supreme Lord is especially potent when performed in the association of pure devotees. When devotees engage in Sankirtan, chanting the glories of the Lord together, they experience the highest transcendental bliss and satisfaction. Thus, they encourage one another to give up material sense gratification, which is based on illicit sexual relations with women. One devotee will say to another, "Oh, you have given up sense gratification? Starting today, I shall also give it up." One should learn to increase one's love for the devotees, to satisfy them, and to give up sense objects unfavorable to serving Krishna. And one should learn to view the entire universe as paraphernalia for the Lord's service. By engaging the objects of the senses in Krishna's service, one automatically becomes detached from them. And as one passes one's days in the association of the Lord's devotees, one's transcendental ecstasy increases more and more through the discussions about the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, one who wants to be free from the harassment of Maya in the form of sense gratification must constantly associate with the pure devotees of the Lord who have no engagement other than chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord and carrying out his mission on earth. Srila Madhvacharya has pointed out that just as one should cultivate friendship with devotees, one must cultivate the spirit of friendship towards the devatas, who manage the universe on the Lord's behalf. Thus, one should live peacefully within this world. Hare Krishna. So it's a really, really wonderful verse, and the purport also, it's quite packed with a lot of nectar. So we'll break this verse down into several parts, but before we go there, I'd like to ask you a few questions, just to think about within your mind. What were some of our best memories in Krishna consciousness? Or coming to the temple, what were some of our best memories? Which of those memories do we cherish the most? And this one, I like a few answers for. In which situation in Krishna consciousness are we at our happiest? Anyone would like to say? Association with devotees. Anyone else has any other answer? Serving the devotees. Every single memory, I can say, that we have, or I can vouch for myself, every single memory or favorite or memorable memory that we have in Krishna consciousness, all includes who? Devotees. That's the common factor in all our memories, I'm sure. Whether it's performing kirtan, making garlands, or just having a casual conversation about Krishna, serving at festivals, especially when those festivals are really hectic, and the most awkward of situations, you have to sleep out in the rain and all of these things. We usually look back on those memories as some of our best memories. Why? Because we were in the company of whom? Devotees. So many of those situations involve devotees. Now, I'd like to ask you a few more questions. How many of us, can show by raising our hands, how many of us feel at times we're suffering the effects of Maya? Means we're often frustrated, we're often tired, like fatigued, mentally fatigued, not just physically fatigued. How many of us have experienced these situations? Show by raising your hands. Sukadeva Prabhu is totally in happiness. He hasn't experienced these situations. So, another question. Have we ever had this experience that we're absolutely engaged in devotional service? We're at the temple doing service. It's an auspicious day. We're among Vaishnavas. We've had wonderful kirtans. But the weirdest of desires comes to mind. I want to go here to this movie. Or I want, material desires come to mind in the association of devotees. How many of us have had this experience? Many of us have also had this experience. Do you sometimes feel like we're going through one inauspicious situation after another? Like it's just frustration after frustration? Or sometimes do we feel confused as to what exactly are we doing? Like what am I doing here? Right? Many of us have been in this situation. So this verse comes as an answer for all of those bad situations, and it proves or substantiates our experiences in Krishna consciousness, our good experiences. This verse comes in the 11th canto, and I'll give just a little background. It's between a conversation between one of the Navayogendras, some of the sons of Rishabhadev, Lord Rishabhadev, and Maharaj Nimi. Maharaj Nimi, he asks the Navayogendras, what is Maya or illusion? And they begin going on, they give a detailed description of what is the external energy of the Lord and how it affects us as the living entities. Then Maharaj Nimi asks to explain how even a foolish materialist can easily cross over this illusory energy of the Supreme Lord, which always is insurmountable or very hard to cross even for those who are self-controlled. So basically, how do we overcome this material energy that is perplexing us and causing so much suffering to us? So that is where this verse comes. So there are 4 aspects to this verse. One is that we should learn to associate with devotees. What is the first one? Good. The second one is gathering to chant the glories of the Lord with devotees. The second one is? Now, in gathering with the devotees, we develop loving friendships, right? And those friendships, the product of those friendships is a mutual feeling of happiness and satisfaction. So Haribol, at the back, we can speak later when Bhagavatam is going on. It's disrespectful to Bhagavatam to speak while Bhagavatam is being spoken. I mean, you can be disrespectful to me, but not to Bhagavatam. We can encourage one another. That is the third one. And that encouragement helps us to give up our attachment to material sense gratification. So that is the third one. What's the third one? To encourage one another. The third one is? And the last one is that this sadhu sangha helps us to extinguish all suffering. It helps us to extinguish all? Good. So there's, in Mangal Arati, we usually sing Samsara Dava, Nalalidha Loka, Tranaya Karunya, Gana Ganatvam. So Samsara Davanala refers to this forest fire of material existence. It's often burning us, like if we are experiencing, anyone has been burnt by touching a really hot pot, or you drink some really hot tea. So material nature burns us just like that, right? So it's like a forest fire, not just our hot tea. But the devotees of the Lord, our spiritual masters, have the quality of showering rain. It's Gana Ganatvam. That quality of showering rain. And that rain helps us to extinguish this fire that is burning our hearts. So how important is sadhu sangha, or association with devotees? Is it important? I would disagree. It is not important. It is absolutely essential to our devotional practice. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are so many examples one can quote. We'll just list a few. Jad Bharat, when he was speaking to Maharaj Rahugna, he says that without the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees, one cannot attain devotional service. Means that the only way we can attain to devotional service. Now, you may think, attaining devotional service. So bhakti is something that is given to us. It is, we try to practice devotional service, but whether we attain that devotional service, it depends on the mercy of the devotees and of course Krishna. But Jad Bharat says something really, really interesting. In that same verse, he says, one may do elaborate deity worship, one may study the Vedas, one may perform austerities, one may do all of these auspicious or pious acts, but none of that helps us to gain liberation. Just take a minute to realize that. Deity worship, elaborate deity worship, studying the Vedas, austerities, and all of these things do not help us to attain liberation. What helps us to attain liberation? The dust of the lotus feet of the devotees. Narada Muni tells Yudhishthira that without the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas, one cannot turn to Krishna. Because without the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees, we'll be suffering in the material world. So how do we get the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas? Is it that we should go and touch the lotus feet and, just rub the dust upon our heads? Of course, that is good. But what it means to attain the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas, it means to follow in the footsteps of the Vaishnavas or previous acharyas. The path is already laid out for us. All we need to do is follow in that path. Follow in that dust path. Like there's a field and there's often a path that people walk on to get through that field. And that path is usually, you can see it. The entire field may be filled with grass, but that path you can see because it's often, it's less with grass because people have been walking there often, right? We have all seen this. So similarly, in this entire green field of Vedic knowledge, this path has been outlined to us by our Vaishnava Acharyas. All we need to do is to follow it. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, cites a very, very important verse. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Kai, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hai. The verdict of all revealed scriptures is that by even a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all success. So even a moment's association with a Vaishnava grants us all success. So now we'll just go part by part, the 4 parts of the verse. So we should learn to associate with the Vaishnavas. How do we associate with Vaishnavas? Anyone wants to say? Give any suggestions? We can serve the Vaishnavas. Yes, we can give and receive gifts. So this verse, Dadati Pratigrinati, which is the 4th verse of Nectar of Instruction, lists 6 ways we can interact with devotees. Those 6 ways are, you can repeat after me, offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad, offering prasad, and these are the 6 symptoms of love that are shared by one devotee with another. So we can pull up the Nectar of Instruction and note down these 6 types of loving exchanges and try to practice them in our everyday lives. Another important point, we know this verse, Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishna, Sango Pangastra Parshadam, Yagyai Sankirtana Praya Yajanti Sumedasa. That intelligent men in the age of Kali Yuga perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead. And the translation goes on. But we'll focus on this part. Intelligent persons perform what? Congregational chanting, Sankirtana. We never said that of course, japa is important, but more stress is given to congregational chanting. Chanting together. There's where the verse says, gathering together to chant. When we gather together to chant the glories of the Lord, we develop loving friendships. In the purport it said that giving up all mundane feelings such as envy and quarrel, devotees or persons should gather together to chant the glories of the Supreme Lord for mutual purification. Now, why are we all here in the material world? Because we wanted to lord it over material nature. Now our hearts are covered with dust, right? And the philosophy is that we try to clean that mirror of the heart by what? Hearing and chanting. But how do we hear and chant? In the association of devotees. Now we may say that, oh, I can do it by myself. I'll cite one example. The example of Bharat Maharaj. He was a great devotee, but he decided to go to the forest and perform his meditation to attain liberation. But he got distracted by a deer. Right? And that caused him to take an extra birth of a deer and then having to take another human birth to attain to Krishna Loka. So we don't want to go through extra birth or extra troubles. So it is more easy, or it is easier to be in the association of the devotees. Why? Because as the purport says, we'll see one devotee giving up material sense gratification and say, oh, you have given up sense gratification? Starting today, I will also give up sense gratification. And devotees can also encourage one another. Now, before we move on to encouraging one another, I'd like to give one example that may help to substantiate why we should get together to chant and hear the glories of the Lord. Chanting and hearing means cleaning the mirror of the heart. So we should gather together to clean the mirrors of our hearts. Why? I'll give you an example. If we were to organize a maha cleaning of this temple, and only one person shows up. Or let's say you're cleaning your home and just one person is helping. How long would you take? For this temple, for instance, how long do you average you take one person to clean everything from the kitchen to the dome? To clean everything, to pressure wash and wipe the windows and wash out the temple room, wash the hall downstairs, clean all the rooms upstairs. How long do you think that would take? How many? One day? That's a ambitious task. Months, right? But if we were to come together, all of us here, to clean the temple, how long would it take? A few days. It may even take a day or even half day if more devotees come together. So the more we come together, the easier it is to clean. Similarly, the more devotees there are doing Sankirtan together, the easier it is to clean that dust from the mirror of our hearts. We don't want to be sitting there trying to struggle to clean by ourselves. We may even leave the task. I tell you, if I have to clean this entire temple room by myself, I'll probably take a year. Man, well, clean sweep today, wipe tomorrow. Wipe the one window today, wipe another one tomorrow, and like that. You go slowly. And probably you might just run away. Man, nobody in a day. You just run away. Like, who cares? Nobody's here anyways. Right? So we can easily leave the process if we are by ourselves. But in the association of devotees, it is much easier. We often hear that we should avoid the association of non-devotees. Now, that is quite impossible in most situations. Because we live in this material world, we often have to interact with non-devotees or people who aren't that interested in Krishna consciousness. So we can't avoid it. But why is it said that we should avoid this association with people who aren't interested in Krishna consciousness? Because it just makes it easier, right? Why do we go to school? We go to school because there are people of similar mindset and it is easier. If we were to try to self-learn, unless we have great levels of motivation, we can't push through by ourselves. We might make progress, but not at the speed at which a classroom makes. Right? You might make fast progress for like a few days, and then after that your motivation withers and you're on your own. You're gone somewhere, disappeared. So the key aspect of association with devotees is that we encourage one another to give up material sense gratification. This material sense gratification is why we are all suffering. We may realize it or we may not realize it. Sometimes we forget why it is that we are suffering. But in the association of devotees, we are constantly reminded of why we are suffering, and not just that we are reminded, oh, you're suffering. That's a very depressing thing. That, we come among people and, oh, you're suffering. Oh, you're suffering. But not just that, it helps us to get mutual happiness and satisfaction. It is not that we're just reminded, we're also given a soothing balm to put on our burning hearts. Because the result or byproduct of this encouragement of one another is bliss and satisfaction. Who here doesn't want bliss and satisfaction? Show by raising your hands. Something has to really be wrong with you to not want bliss and satisfaction, right? So this sadhu sangha, we can say, is the medicine to decrease the fever of material attachment. So many times we go to doctors, right? And especially an Ayurvedic doctor, it is said that more than just taking the medicine, one needs to have faith that whatever the doctor gives will actually help us. So that faith, that strong faith in the doctor must be there. But usually, when we approach a doctor and, oh, this medicine now, okay, change the doctor and go on somebody else. But if you simply approach the doctor and tell the doctor that, this is my issue, the doctor will tell you, you know what, increase your dosage. So sometimes we feel that, oh, we are in the association of the devotees, but nothing is working. I don't feel any change. So what do we need to do? We need to increase the dosage. Increase our association with the devotees. But we see, however, that although we have so much association with devotees, we're often always surrounded by devotees. We often take that association for granted. And it is natural. Anything that we have in excess, we take for granted. Sometimes we may ask ourselves, why it is that I have no taste? Or why it is I've been chanting so long, I've been associating with devotees, but why it is that I don't have any taste? It is often because we're neglecting something really simple. We often think that, we try to read so much and get so much realizations and all these things. But if we look closely, it is often because we're neglecting something very, very simple. And we're not chanting attentively, we're not associating properly, we're committing offenses to devotees, we're not worshipping the deity properly. Like this, very simple things can cause us to lose faith. So familiarity to extraordinary things. Now this process of devotional service is an extraordinary thing. This process of devotional service helps us to transform an ocean of misery to the size of a calf's hoofprint. If that isn't extraordinary, where in the world would you find something that transforms the ocean into something that small? Devotional service has the ability to transform that ocean of misery into the size of a calf's hoofprint. Now, if that isn't extraordinary, I don't know what is. But we take this process for granted, and that is where it begins to seem ordinary to us. We become complacent or become casual in our dealings. So we're often surrounded by a lot of devotees, but we take devotees for granted. We see the deities every day. We may have deities in our home, and we take the deities for granted. Chanting Hare Krishna every day, we take it for granted and we become inattentive. So, Purushottam Prabhu from ISKCON Chowpatty cites a really, really wonderful description. He says, when we take the deities for granted, a hellish mentality begins to develop in our hearts. When we take the devotees for granted, offenses start to grow in our hearts. When we take the holy name for granted, anarthas grow in our heart. And instead for our hearts becoming soft, it begins to become hard. So, when we take the deities for granted, hellish mentality develops. When we take the devotees for granted, offenses grow. When we take the holy name for granted, anarthas grow, or bad qualities. When we take our philosophy of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita for granted, then we begin to deviate from the process. Like people take Krishna pastime to be ordinary dealing between boy and girl, and that is where offenses towards the Lord begin to form. And they start thinking, me and my girlfriend are Radha and Krishna. This is Sahajaism. So this is deviation from the philosophy, when we take the philosophy for granted. So here's a really, really nice phrase. Listen carefully. Purushottam Prabhu says, holy wisdom makes us ponder. Holy deities acts as a binder. It's the focus of our community. Like this, what binds all the devotees together is Nitai Gaurachandra. So holy wisdom makes us ponder. Holy deities acts as a binder. Holy association sends a reminder. Holy place inspires surrender, gives us a glimpse of splendor. Holy names helps us to become an all-rounder. So we'll go that again. Holy wisdom makes us ponder. Holy deities acts as a binder. Holy association sends a reminder. Holy places inspire surrender. And the holy name helps us to become an all-rounder. Yet still we wander, commit blunder, and ask this question, why surrender? So everything is here. The devotees are here, the holy places are here, the temple, the holy name is here, the philosophy is there. What is wrong? We're taking it for granted. All we need to do is rectify that. So often, we're breathing every day. How many times in a day we actually appreciate the oxygen that we're breathing in? Or how many of us appreciate the water that we drink every day? Or the food that we get every day? Because we get it every day. Oftentimes we take it for granted. The only person who can tell you how valuable oxygen is someone who has experienced COVID, really, really harsh COVID. Or someone who isn't getting pure air to breathe. If you want to appreciate water, then just fast for Nirjala Ekadasi. The next day, you'll know the appreciation of water. Right? Or fast from prasadam for a few days. You'll know the appreciation of prasadam. So there's a story of a devotee in Dubai. This devotee, he had to go some far place, like 3 hours away from his home, for some work, and he was driving back. It happened so that the evening that he was driving back, he had to reach for a program. He was one of the organizers of the program. So he's trying to reach back for the program. While driving back, he was listening to a lecture on Nectar of Instruction by His Grace Govinda Prabhu. Happened so that he was so immersed in listening to the lecture that he jumped a traffic light. Now in Guyana, we jump a traffic light. Usually we aren't caught. But in Dubai, their system is so very strict. So he kept driving for some time. And after some time, he realized, he looks in his rearview mirror and he sees the police driving up behind him. And they're honking at him to stop, to pull over in the corner. And he realizes and he pulls over in the corner. Now in Dubai, when they stop you, apparently, they don't tell you anything. They just take away your license and your residence card if you're not a resident born in Dubai. So they took away his car, took away his license and his residence card, and they told him you have to come to the police station. So he went to the police station, and at the police station, they told him that you have to pay such and such fine, like 50,000 or something. 50,000 rupees. I remember the conversion. I don't remember how much it is in Dubai money. I don't even know what Dubai money is called. Anyways. So he had to pay a large sum of money in fine. So he was like, okay, so I can go now? They were like, no, you can't leave. You have to also do 2 days in prison for jumping a traffic light, right? So he was like, I can't go to prison. I have a program this evening I'm organizing. Sorry, we can't do anything. That is the law. You have to go to prison. So he goes there and they make him take off. So he was like, I have to spend 2 days in prison, 48 hours. I can chant, right? At least I can chant 48 hours. I'll spend my time in that way. They took away his bead bag. So he says, can I take my Bhagavad Gita? No spiritual literature is allowed. Right? They even took off his neck bead. Now he's wondering, what would I do in this godforsaken place? And for 2 days, like what would you do? Takes him to the prison. Now their prison isn't like our prison. They have AC, blankets, they give you food, everything provided for 2 days. Right? I don't know if that's a prison or not. But anyway, it's Dubai. So they take him there and he goes in. Now he's totally morose because he has no japa bag, no Bhagavad Gita to keep him company. What in Krishna's name would I be doing there for 2 days? So he goes in, and when he enters into the prison cell, some guy is in the corner, he's really slumped up, really looking, like gloomy. And another is there sleeping, the other one is there just staring at the ceiling. He doesn't know what to do with his life. So they're wasting time. You don't know what to do. You're in the prison for 2 days, right? So after some time, he notices a guy in the corner is reading a book. And he looks closely at the book. It's one of Srila Prabhupada's books. So he approaches the guy and he says, where did you get this book? Now, the guy who's reading the book, he doesn't want to say anything because he doesn't want to get into trouble. He don't know if this guy will report him or what it is. So he doesn't tell him anything. But after some, coaxing, he eventually says, this is book of Srila Prabhupada and I'm such and such devotee. My name is Madhu. And the devotee was like, oh, my name is Rameshwar Kanai Das. They both realized that they were devotees. Now this guy who was reading the book, he went and wake up this guy that was sleeping in the corner. Hey, wake up, Prabhu, wake up. There's another devotee here to join us. Right? So all three of them, for the next 2 days, they were just happy that they had their one another's association, reading this book of Srila Prabhupada and discussing Krishna Katha for 3 days. Now, the jail keepers, they brought food for them, but obviously the food was not vegetarian food, so they didn't take any food. They just bring us water. That is it. All we want is water. So just 3 devotees in a cell in Dubai. By the way, in Dubai, there are no temples, right? They're just centers. And devotee communities are extremely sparse, like they're scattered. So in Dubai, it's really hard to get association. Now, imagine going to jail there and you find 3 devotees. That's like you see heaven on earth. Right? So they're there, totally happy. Absolutely happy In that situation, you're there, you've just paid so much money and all of these things. So everybody else in the jail cell, they're wondering, are these three guys crazy? How can they be happy in such a situation? One guy is there, the day happens to be his birthday, and he goes to them, he's wondering why these people are so happy. So he sits with them, and they're discussing Krishna Katha, and he was listening and all of these things. Now, at the end of one day, it turns out the guy's birthday, whose birthday it was, he had to leave that day. So he was so impressed with the devotees, and this service attitude developed in his heart. He went out of the prison, bought a whole bunch of fruits and brought it back to the prison and told the police officers, please give this to these three guys. They really, really helped me out a lot. Give them the fruits, and for the next day, they were just totally immersed in one another's association discussing Krishna Katha. When they came out of the prison, they decided that they three were going to be best friends for life. So you can see that loving reciprocation, right? Association of devotees, right? They chanted the glories of the Lord together. That developed, they didn't know one another, right? That developed a loving friendship. That loving friendship helped them to feel so much happiness and satisfaction, even in a jail cell, without food and without food, proper food, prasada. They felt absolutely satisfied and happy in that situation. So many times we don't appreciate the association we have of devotees until we don't have it. And oftentimes it may be too late. And we don't know how lucky we are that we'd find someone in a corner reading Srila Prabhupada's books. So we need to learn to appreciate one another's association. And not just appreciating our association, but come together on a regular basis. To what? To chant the glories of the Lord. It is said, Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. That by regular attendance in classes of Srimad Bhagavatam, now not just classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, what do we do in classes of Srimad Bhagavatam? We're basically chanting the glories of the Lord. So that applies to Sankirtan also. Regular attendance in classes of Bhagavatam, among the association of devotees, all that is troublesome to our heart is almost completely destroyed. So all this suffering that is there in our hearts, it is not that we stop undergoing material hardships and all of these things, but it helps us to deal with all of these things. But we can't expect to deal with them properly, or we feel that we are not motivated in Krishna consciousness. I don't feel like coming to the temple. I don't feel like associating with the devotees. I don't feel like coming and chanting. Why? Because we aren't associating with devotees and chanting in that association. Many times we don't want to take the medicine, but we have to take the medicine. And if we feel that the medicine isn't working, take more. We can never overdose on sadhu sangha. There's never an overdose of sadhu sangha. That is the beauty of sadhu sangha. So coming together to chant the glories of the Lord can help us to overcome so much suffering. Oftentimes we come for a kirtan. It doesn't have to be a big kirtan festival. Someone just pops up at our home. We speak a little about Krishna and we chant two Mahamantras and we feel so happy and satisfied. As opposed to going to work for an entire day and we come back, we're really tired. Or something really bad has happened. Something really bad can happen, but we just have to come to the temple, chant together, and we feel uplifted, ready to go again. Our batteries are charged. There's another story of a devotee family in Mira Road in Mumbai. So this family, they were part of a certain community, a village. These people, their staple diet is fish. 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, year after year. Every single meal, fish is included. But this family specifically loved fish. Right? They couldn't do without fish in their diet. But the problem is, in their village, they only get one type of fish. So they wanted a more variety of fish. So they discovered that in Mira Road, there is going to be a market which sells a wide variety. This is not a fairy tale. This is a really true story, 100% true. Right? The devotee told this story. It's a personal story. So they decided that they would move to Ramiro Road. Why? The sole reason of getting a variety of fish. Now, for someone to move their entire family and home and all of their job and everything just for a variety of fish, you can imagine how attached they were to eating fish, right? So they moved to Mira Road, and they were there living for a few months. Happened so that their home is close to our Mira Road temple, and every day while walking home, they would have to pass by the temple. But one day, they were passing the temple. Usually, the temple is really, I don't know how many of us have seen. You can look up the Mira Road temple. It's a really, really wonderful temple, right? Often the temple is well lit in the night, and devotees, you jamming kirtan in the night and all of these things, Gora Arti and all of these things. But this evening, they're walking back. The lights in the temple were switched off, and you can hear a slow, somber kirtan going on. So they're wondering, somebody died or something? Something's wrong? So they decide, let's go in and check out what's up. So they go in. Temple room is packed. A bunch of people offering lamps to the Lord. All the lights in the temple room are off. Just the lights of the lamps are there. They come in. All you have to do when you go into the crowd, all you have to do is just follow the crowd, right? So they just go in. They're given a lamp. They walk. They're pushed up to the altar. They offer. Put it there. And they're pushed out of the temple. Like that, they went through. Now they were like, what is this? So they felt something, right? They were like, something's up here. So the next day they come back again. The next day after that. The next day after that. After that, the entire Damodar month passed. Right? After that, they knew the devotee who were giving them the lamp to offer to the Lord. They knew several devotees who they always reach offering the lamps to the Lord. They knew the devotee there with the whole tray that we put the lamps in. They discovered that devotee. They learned of the devotee at the door who was, giving back slippers, taking care of the slippers. And one of those devotees just engaged in a conversation with them. And by that association with devotees, they became attracted to the process of Krishna consciousness and became devotees. Now the story doesn't end there. Their family, their cousins and aunties and uncles and everybody, were so amazed that these people moved from our village to Mira Road for fish. Now they're at Mira Road and they've stopped eating fish. The people at the fish market, they were well known. Everybody knew that this family really loves fish, right? Well known in the market. The vendors at the market, they were wondering where are these people? They're not seeing them anymore. Something is wrong. Happened so that one of the vendors at the market popped up at the Mira Road temple. See the devotees there chanting Hare Krishna. This guy got so angry, he approached the temple president and told him, "You're taking away our customers." Right? So we see the power of the association of devotees can transform even the worst of all habits. All we need to do is submit ourselves to that association. And the transformation comes about. Now we may say that we have live stream and all of these things. I can watch. There's a wonderful Facebook post, since we all like our live streams and it's streaming on Facebook. You can take a break after the program. Visit the page of Hari Parshad Prabhu. He does a really, really wonderful post on the metaversification of bhakti. So I don't know how many of you are aware of Facebook's latest endeavor. VR headsets, virtual reality. They're trying to create virtual spaces, virtual meeting rooms. It's really fascinating technology. Materially fascinating, that is. Right? So they're developing this philosophy. So Hari Parshad Prabhu is commenting that he's afraid that one day devotees will show up, sit on their couches at home, put on their VR headsets, virtual reality headsets, and they are there, virtual association, right? But that isn't the process. The process is personal service to Vaishnavas. We need the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas. How are you going to get that dust through a VR headset? I'm sure they will never develop a technology for you to get the dust of the feet of the Vaishnavas through VR headsets. So we may feel that we can relish Krishna consciousness through virtual platforms, which is good. We get association in times that we aren't able to get association through these platforms. But that physical association is much, much much, much more important and needed. So, we'll read the translation again. And this translation should become like our motto, because it encompasses the entire philosophy of Krishna consciousness. We can all repeat again. One should learn how to associate with the devotees of the Lord by gathering with them to chant the glories of the Lord. This process is most purifying. As devotees thus develop their loving friendship, they feel mutual happiness and satisfaction, and by thus encouraging one another, they are able to give up material sense gratification, which is the cause of all suffering. So we know this bhajan, I think it's Ohe Vaishnava Thakur, please correct me if I'm wrong, in which Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, alone I find I have no strength to chant the holy name of the Lord. So alone, we have no strength. But by associating with the devotees, by praying to our spiritual master for the 6 kinds of holy association, we're praying for association, so we don't have to chant on our own. And Srila Prabhupada, our very own dear Srila Prabhupada, has built what? A house in which the entire world can live. Now, what does that mean? A house in which the entire world can live. If we're living in a home with a bunch of people, it means that eventually we'll become friends with one another. We do activities with one another, and eventually we become like a close-knit family. That is why it is said he's built a house. He hasn't built an organization in which people can come together. Srila Prabhupada has built a house. So by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we have been afforded this opportunity to associate with one another, to know of Srila Prabhupada, of our entire line of Guru Parampara, or all our Vaishnava Acharyas. Who would have ever known of Narottam Das Thakur? Who would have ever known of Lord Chaitanya? Who would have ever known of Krishna and the process of devotional service if it wasn't for Srila Prabhupada? So, Srila Prabhupada built a home in which we all can live in, and it behooves us to create in that home a loving atmosphere in which more people can come. This home isn't short of any kind of space. It is ever expanding, and it can hold the entire world. All we need to do is bring more and more people together to join in this home of Krishna consciousness. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much for your kind attention. And if there are any comments by Haridas Prabhu or Pita, if not, we'll go for Arti. Ready for Arti? So if I've said anything wrong, please correct me and forgive my offenses. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. You can all stand for Arati.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Satarine
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachare Satarine
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Hare Krishna Hare Hare
Nanda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare
Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Bolo Hare Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare
Hare Rama
Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Hare
Hare
Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Ram Ram Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama
Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare
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 Hare Rama Rama Rama
Hare Hare
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Paramakaruna Jaya Nitai Gaurachandra Paramakaruna Jaya Nitai Gaurachandra
Paramakaruna Jaya Nitai Gaurachandra Jaya Paramakaruna Jaya Nitai Gaurachandra
Jaya Paramakaruna Jaya Nitai Gaurachandra Paramakaruna Jaya Nitai Gaurachandra
Jaya Paramakaruna Jaya Nitai Gaurachandra Jaya Paramakaruna Jaya Nitai Gaurachandra
Nitai Gaura Haribol Haribol Gaura Haribol
Nitai Gaura Haribol Haribol Gaura Haribol
Nitai Gaura Haribol 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 Gaura Haribol
Nitai Gaura Haribol
Haribol Gaura Haribol Jayam Vishnupad Paramamsa Privraj Gacharya Stotar Sara Shri Shrimad Divine Grace Abhay Charana Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajgacharya Stota Sata Shri Shrimad Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koiti Vaishnavinda Ki ISKCON Svangacharya His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kund Sri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavandam Ki Sri Mayapur Navadvipdam Ki Shri Gangamai Jamunamai Bhakti Devi Ki Srimati Tulsi Maharani Devi Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jagannath Baladev Subhadramai Ki Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai Brahad Madanga Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Sankirtan Yagya Ki Gaura Premanande Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Dear Lordship Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai All glories to the Assembly Devotees All glories to the Assembly Devotees All glories to the Assembly Devotees All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
Namaste Narasingaya Pralarayane Hiranyakashe Purvakshaha Hiranyakashe Purvaksha Shilatanakana Kalayane Shilatanakana Kalayane Ito Nirsimha Parato Nirsimha To Nirsimha Parato Nirsimha Yato yato yamita to nirsimha Yato yato yamita to nirsimha Bahir nirsimha hridaya nirsimha Bahir nirsimha hridaya nirsimha Narasingha marim Sharanam prapare Narasingha marim Sharanam prapare Tavakara kamalavare Naka Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranya Kashipu Tanno Vringa Keshavarita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Avakara Kamalavare Nakama Bhuta Sima Kalita Hiranya Kashipu Kanovinga Ishavarita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavarita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagaresha Hare Jaya Jagaresha Hare Jaya Jagaresha Hare Keshavarita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagaresha Jaya Nrsimhare, Jaya Nrsimhare, Nrsimhare, Jaya Nrsimhare. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Shri Nrsimhadev Bhagwan ki jai, Bhakti Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Shri Paramakaritai Gaur Chandra ki. Hare Krishna. So we want to thank all the devotees who have been here for today's Sunday Love Feast here at Hare Krishna Study Center. And we want to thank those who are also joining virtually. Just a few announcements before we go for Prasadam. So tomorrow is Ekadasi fasting. So tomorrow is Papamochami Ekadasi, and fast will be broken Tuesday morning. And as you all know, later on this week, Navratri will start on Friday, 1st of April. It will go on for 9 days, and then on the 10th, we are gearing up for observing Ram Navami festival. The 10th will be a Sunday, 2 weeks, exactly 2 weeks from now. So those are some upcoming activities. Please remember to tune in for regular weekly programs on television. There's a Hare Krishna Today program every Wednesday at NTN. And if there are further programs like during the week in the villages or so, we'll let you know, we'll keep you informed. And the temple here, as usual, will be gearing up, preparing for their usual fundraising activity. As you all know, during Navratri time, twice a year, we usually conduct a little fundraising activity here, and therefore we're requesting all the devotees to at least try to give as much as possible in the form of being here to assist in cutting up, preparing, on a daily basis, starting from maybe Thursday, because to prepare, to get everything together, to cook and to serve and box out and prasadam to go out there. It takes quite a bit of organizing and execution. So we want to encourage, everyone, whatever time you have available in the evenings, early mornings, you can come over here and assist us for the next week and a half or so, beginning from Thursday. So that will be what is happening. We want to thank all the devotees who would have been here this morning to assist with organizing, cooking in the kitchen, take care of their lordships, dressing, decorating the altar, making garlands, all who would have assisted in setting up the temple room, the technical team, the kirtan wallas, and everyone. Thank you all once again. Hari Bol! There's a wonderful feast and prepared for everyone. Please take prasad to your fullest satisfaction. Hare Krishna.